Or well, always be kind, but especially kind. And I hear something moving and I'm paranoid that it's going to eat me. I pray that it's nothing dangerous. Also, I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes and I'm kind of cold, so I hope this is worth it. Welcome to my first episode of my first series called Things I Learned in Therapy. The majority of my knowledge about anxiety disorders have come from my previous therapy appointments, so I'm hoping it'll count for something. Each week I will focus on one anxiety disorder until we run out, and then I'll get on to story times and such. It's important to learn about what they are and the basics of how to deal with them before we discuss them in other ways. One of the 2 weekly videos will describe the disorder and symptoms of it using my experience and examples, with some research of course. The second video will be coping methods I learned in therapy and how you or others can help deal with it. I may decide to do something else on 1 week though, in case I get tired of the repetitiveness. So see my last video posted on Friday to learn more about generalized anxiety disorder. In this video, I will teach you how to help yourself and/or someone suffering from generalized anxiety disorder. As for my weekly update, since I don't know when I'm posting this, I made it to my cabin where I'm surrounded by beautiful nature. I'll do my best to film outside for a while, so hopefully the lighting's good, except right now because it's 9:37 p.m. and the sun is setting, and apparently I can't do anything in the daytime, but hope you enjoy the trees behind me if you can see them. Anyway, and as for my anxiety on the weekly update, I showered standing up for the first time in about 3 years. It was scary because I had to stand on my legs in a confined, slippery area, and it's been so long, but I'm proud that I finally managed it, and I hope I can keep it up, because it was only once. And I was scared the whole time, yet I did it. A lot of these coping methods can apply to any anxiety disorder, but when I get into other ones, I will specify particular methods for that disorder, just like I will be doing for this video. So the first one I'm going to talk about is deep breathing and holding on to something. Although there are several different breathing methods, I would recommend breathing in as much as you can, holding for a few seconds, and then breathing out, slowly. It's important to breathe like this to calm down and stop hyperventilating. Sometimes that happens subconsciously. Focusing on breathing should be your go-to method anytime you feel anxiety coming on. It's something you can do anywhere. I often hold on to my knees or my thighs tightly when I have anxiety. It helps to grasp a hold of what's really there, grounding me to the current moment. Although you do want to eventually be able to relax your body, this can help at first to bring you back to your current self, and not the future where your anxiety is likely coming from. Next, constant reassurance or positive self-talk and positive reinforcement. If you're trying to deal with your anxiety, thinking positive thoughts like I can do this or I will get through this, alive and breathing, is important even if you don't currently believe it. You are literally retraining your brain to believe what you want to believe and not what your anxiety is telling you. So for me, how I do this for myself is that I put up signs and quotes on my wall. I literally have them written on a lined sheet of paper with a pen, because I knew that I'd never get around to making them all fancy and pretty. It's a constant visual reminder. A few of my favorites are, make yourself proud. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But do whatever you need to do to keep moving forward. Stars can't shine without darkness. Never discount progress, no matter how slow. We are way more powerful over our minds and bodies than we think we are. I have many more quotes to share with you, and I'll likely make a whole video on that some other time because I have a lot. Also, Pinterest is a very helpful tool. I have a whole board with probably 1,000 quotes on it, so if you want to follow me, just let me know. I'll probably link it below if I can figure out that. Because people with anxiety are constantly afraid, they need to be reassured that it will be alright. Help them to see the realistic side of things. If you are talking to somebody with generalized anxiety disorder, be careful not to be condescending or rude. Most people with anxiety already know that their anxiety is unnecessary and irrational. So don't say things like, get over it, just do it, it's that easy, what's the big deal, etc. Try saying, I believe in you, I know that you can do it. If you've done it before, if that's the case with them, you can do it again. What can I do to help you? I'm here for you. I'll never leave you. Again, as long as you mean the things you say, it's good to go. Listen openly to what the sufferer has to say about their anxiety, why they believe they're worried, what it's about, and what they're thinking or feeling. It's important not to judge them at this stage. Just listen with an open mind and an open heart. You can offer suggestions if they ask, and if they don't ask, make sure to ask it in a kind way. So for example, I want to help you any way I can. Have you considered blank? And then tell them whatever you're thinking about. Make sure you don't leave them because of their anxiety unless it has taken a painful or unhealthy toll on your life. I'll talk more about that hopefully in another video. I have a lot of video ideas, so stay tuned. People with anxiety are natural negative thinkers. They may constantly believe their negative thoughts over what you say, but keep it up. It's important to create as positive of an environment as you can to encourage them as much as possible. Offer them situations in which whatever they are afraid of may turn out all right. If they give in to their anxiety, try to help them believe that it's not all their fault. Their anxiety is a tough mental illness to beat. It makes you believe things that aren't true, and it's even harder to differentiate the rational from the irrational. They did not choose it, and overcoming it takes time. As long as they are honestly trying each time, nothing more can be done. Last point. Realistic thinking. A lot of anxiety is irrational or extremely unlikely, like I mentioned before. It is important to differentiate the irrational from the rational, to realize what thought is created through your anxiety and which is more likely. Focus on what is the most likely outcome while preparing yourself and planning ahead for the other outcomes. For me, for example, I am still afraid my knees will dislocate even though I've already gone through 3 operations to make this specifically not happen, and it's been over a year since my last operation, and even by chance, my knees would have likely dislocated by then. So I'm going to use one of these sheets that I got in therapy who knows how long ago, called the Realistic Thinking Detective's Evidence Sheet. Non-scripted. I'm going to go through my knee anxiety with my event. What is happening? So basically, what are you worried about? Well, I'm worried that my knee will dislocate even though I've had operations. Thoughts. What am I thinking? Oh my god, my knee is gonna dislocate. And then in my mind, it does this weird thing where it's just over and over again, I see my knees dislocating and dislocating, and me screaming in agony. And worry rating, well, in the moment, it tends to be about a debilitating 7. What is the evidence? What are the facts? Well, the facts are that I've had an operation and it will not dislocate. That's the point of the operation. What else could happen? Well, it could not dislocate. I could be fine. I could be walking along my merry way, and instead of dislocating, it gets stronger the more walking I do. What happened when I worried before? I avoided the situation and either held on to something around me or stopped walking. On the off chance that I managed to actually face my fear and get through it, then nothing happened, or I tensed up a little bit and it made my muscles hurt and made it feel like something was going to happen, but nothing happened. What is likely to happen? Well, likely I will walk across the floor and be fine. What has happened to other people? That one doesn't really apply to me, shouldn't, because it's super rare, but I think the operations I've had is an 80% success rate or something, so that's pretty good. What is my realistic thought? My knees will not dislocate. Well, I pretty much always have my phone with me, so I'd be able to call to my mom, or I could call out, scream out or shout or whatever. I'm hardly ever alone. If I were to be, I know the drill. I just sit there for a few minutes with my pain, and then I'd probably freak out first of all, though I just had 3 operations to make it not happen. But if it were, I know that I wouldn't die, it would be a familiar pain. So yeah, realistic thinking. Not likely, actually really not likely. So my realistic thought is that it will not dislocate. It's very unlikely that my knees will dislocate. Worry rating. If I think about all that as I'm walking, which I usually do, or I just try to avoid it, or I do it anyway, it should go down to about a 3. And the more I do it, the lower it will get. And also, I have here the 4 R's, which I'll just briefly read, which kind of is a summary of what I just did. So, step 1, label that this is an anxious thought, and not me or my brain, it is anxiety. Number 2, reattribute. Give it a meaning. I'm worried about something that hasn't happened yet. The anticipatory fear is always worse than the real thing, or like almost always. Number 3, refocus. Give boundaries, delay getting to it. Refocus and do something productive and positive. So basically distract yourself from anxiety and be like, no, I'm not going to think about my anxiety. Distract your mind. Like, I do that a lot. I distract my mind as I'm doing something, like even walking. I'll try to think of something else, or I'll sing out loud, or I'll talk really loud to somebody. I'll just put the anxiety away. I'll ignore the anxiety. Number 4, revalue. This is just a useless, highly exaggerated thought. Worrying will not get me to where I want to be. So even though it might not sound like that or you might not believe that when you're anxious, if you keep telling yourself that, eventually it will stick in your brain that, hey, this isn't helping, let's move on. But it takes a lot more repetition than it does for normal people, which is why it's called anxiety. So there are several more coping methods available, obviously, but these are the 3 I most recommend for generalized anxiety disorder, and I'll talk about them more in other videos. The examples I added in made this a much longer video, but I hope it's a bit more understandable now. As for other recommended help, I should have a link in the description for anxietybc.com, which is I'm pretty sure it's official and proven. And obviously talk to a therapist or counselor or psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, to get more professional, official help. As always, leave any questions about this topic or any topic at all, and I'll add it into a Q&A video whenever I choose to make one. If I get enough on generalized anxiety disorder, I'll either do a whole video or I'll make a Q&A specifically for generalized anxiety disorder. So thank you for watching. My next video should be uploaded Friday. Hopefully I can get Wi-Fi then, because I'm kind of in an area that doesn't have Wi-Fi, so hope all is well. Thanks for watching. Bye!